Hey Sainers, welcome to Saints TV. It's the round 13 preview. It's been a few weeks since our last game against Port Adelaide in China, thankfully, so we've had enough time to kind of get over it, recover, get a week off, get some positive news back into the club. This week, Jack Stephen returned to training, which was awesome. The club's come out and said that they're going to play Jake Carlisle at Sandy this weekend to get a run in, which will be amazing, with Jimmy Webster back there for Sandy as well as Max King and Dan Hanbury. Max King and Dan Hanbury, the club has said, if they play well and they get through the game for Sandy on the weekend, they're looking to debut them in round 14 against Brisbane, which could be a massive game if we get the job done against the Gold Coast on Saturday, which is also a fucking massive game. We need to win that. We're at 5 and 6 at the moment, so if we can get a win here, we go to 6 and 6, and then we face Brisbane, who at that time will be, I think, 7 and 6, and we have a chance of equaling Brisbane, who everyone's talked up as a really good team this season. So it's a big couple of weeks for us. Jack Steele going down is not a good thing, but we've got 7 ins for the Gold Coast game. 7, the most we've had in a couple of years that I can remember. So we'll go through them now, and you guys comment. Let me know what you think. I'm actually quite happy with these ins. I think that they're pretty solid. The ins are definitely, I think, on par with the outs. We've got a few big outs, in terms of Geary and Steele, but I think a couple of the ins are quite important and quite exciting. It's a bit different. So let's go with the outs first. Obviously, Geary out, unfortunately, with his leg. Jack Steele out, unfortunately, with his dislocated knee that happened at training today. Ed Phillips is, I think, omitted. Ben Long omitted. He's been shocking the last 3 or 4 weeks. Robbie Young the same. Played a good debut game and then dropped off the last couple of weeks from there. Caulfield the same. And Joyce. Everyone has an opinion on Joyce. I'm not going to go into it too much, but he's dropped as well. In Hunter Clark, everyone wanted that. He's had good Sandy form. Jonathan Marsh, who was unfortunately an out for China, but he's been good when he's played, so I'm happy to see him back. Dan McKenzie as well is back in, which is good for our back line. Blake Acres comes in to strengthen the midfield. Nick Hind to debut. I'm excited for that and to see his speed and to see his kicking. His disposals, actually what I'm most excited about. His speed's a bonus, but his disposal has been excellent in the games that I've seen him play, so I'm keen to see him deliver the ball into a forward line out in front for a forward to run onto. Then we've got Brandon White, who's dominated Sandy, and he's been really good. He's been in great form, and he's well-deserved. Same with Nick Hind, 2 Sandy players that have worked their asses off all season, and they're finally going to get their chance. And the forgotten man, the guy that everyone has said is done, including myself, and he's been good for Sandy, and no doubt, I don't know if he's an in because of Steele being out, but David Armitage is back in the team. We're going to see David Armitage play, and I can't remember the last time I saw him play. It's probably been close to a year since David Armitage is back in. Leadership, he brings that against Gold Coast. He's a guy that I think you play him and you kind of know what you're going to get, and he's just another senior head. Because, when you're missing Geary, you're missing Steele, you're missing 2 very leadership-style players, along with the players that we've already got out. I think having the likes of David Armitage back in the team with Seb Ross takes the pressure off Seb Ross and the Billings and those sort of players in the team. I think that I don't see him as a long-term solution, but I guarantee you if Steele had played on Saturday, I don't think David Armitage plays. I think that the rest of the changes happen, but I don't think that David Armitage plays on the weekend, especially in an away game. I guess we don't really need to, this game is massive for us. We need to get a result. Gold Coast haven't been terrible. They've had a few decent games. They weren't too bad last week against North. They lost by 27, but they played well. And they played well against West Coast in Perth. They've played well against Geelong. They've done well against some pretty good opposition. We played them in round 1, obviously, and that was probably one of the ugliest games we've seen. But we got over the line. That set us up for a big first month, where a lot of teams have struggled against the Gold Coast. They haven't been bad. They haven't had any sort of shellacking that I can think of, maybe one or two this season. But compared to previous seasons, they're significantly stronger. Ben King's getting on, he's doing well. Their midfield's strong. But I think hopefully in terms of just sheer want and pressure and just the fact that we need to get the win, we get the job done. I think that our forward line probably is slightly better than theirs and we can get them in that way. Even if the delivery is poor, I think we'll get enough in the forward line to kick a winning score. But hey, I've been wrong before. This will probably come back to bite me and people will be like, Jake, you said we're going to win and we fucking lost by 10 goals. And where did that come from? But I just think this game's too important. And if we win and we get to 6-6, we come back. And then there's the likes of still getting a week of training under his belt. Dan Hanbury likely to debut. Jay Carlisle gets through a Sandy game. Max King looks to debut. The buzz will be back. That Brisbane game is going to be huge. If we win, we need to get the win, because if we can get them and we get a strong team on the park against Brisbane, who lost to Carlton on the week, and I went to that game and watched them closely, and they were good for parts, and Carlton stopped them in the clearances and they got on top. I think if we can do that and pinch that win, 7-6 going into the stretch of the second half of the season where the fixtures are in our favour and we can get some injured players back in terms of Webster, Jack Loney, Jake Carlisle, Dan Hanbury, Stuve, Max King. That team there looks very strong, and we'd go into a lot of games favourites. If we lose, as Fraser's just said, if we lose, is season over. We go at 5-7. I think if we lose, it's close. I think it's borderline. If we lose the next two and we go 5-8, I call it and it's done. But I think we need to win at least one of the next two to have a chance. If we win the next two, we are definitely in with a big chance. And, Gold Coast and Brisbane, those are two games that years ago we'd be like, okay, those are wins. But, this season's been crazy and teams have been upsetting teams and all that shit. But if we can get the next two wins, I can't see why we can't make finals. If we get players back and we just get that little bit more consistent with our ball use, and I just have a feeling that over the bye we've tinkered and we've worked hard on that, and we'll see a change on the weekend. That's just me being positive. Let's look at what the AFL reckons, even though, they never talk sense and they're pretty biased. They think that what this game means for St Kilda is like the Suns, the Saints feel-good start to the season feels an age ago. Fresh off a bye, a win would well and truly extricate them from the bottom four teams and keep their finals hopes flickering. The matchup they think is important is Tim Membry versus Jack Hobsch, the defender. If we can get on top there and Membry kick straight, I think we win. They've tipped, big call is both teams to top 90 points in the warm, dry conditions. They think it's going to be uncontested. 90 points. We haven't kicked 90 points since the Melbourne game, I believe. I don't think we've kicked higher than 80 since the Melbourne game. We're the second lowest scoring team in the AFL. Bottom is, I believe, Gold Coast. I could be wrong, but it could be a battle of the two lowest scoring attacks on the weekend, which doesn't bode well for that stat of both teams kicking over 90 points. It says the prediction is Saints by 12. I want us to win by more. I want us to go there and play well and get the job done. Come back to Melbourne with no injuries. Just one of those, I want a routine win. When the hell was the last time we had a routine win? I can't remember. Even the Melbourne game was kind of petering until the last quarter. We don't do routine wins since 2010, basically. Since we were a powerhouse team, we haven't looked at the fixture and be like, win. It's always whatever team turns up, it depends. Let's go through some comments and then chat a bit more about the club in a nutshell. Adam says it would be great to see Armo step up like Dunstan has and play a great game. No reason why he can't. He's done it before. Defeat this week might spell the end for Richer. Hope the boys come home with a big deal, with a big win. Hate to be negative, but Armitage really... it's from Jack. He isn't sold on Armitage. Do you guys think that, just say hypothetically, if Damon Armitage comes in and he has 38 touches and kicks a goal and lays 5 tackles, although it's against Gold Coast, does he stay in the team if Jack still turns up next week? Does he stay in the team if he consistently... obviously you'll say yes if he plays well, but because considering he's not really the future. Despite him playing well, do we still want to play him ahead of a midfielder or, another young kid that might take his position in 2 years' time? Or is this just because Steele's injured? What is your opinion on that? Would love to see a win in Townsville, says Tanya. Armo, you beauty, says Damo. Keen on Armo, it seems. Andrew says, need to play Caulfield. Good to see White in. Caulfield, he needs games, I agree, but he hasn't done well in the games that he's played. I agree he needs consistency, similar to Hunter Clark. He can't just keep dropping them in and out because then they just don't get any sort of consistency in their performance. But at the same token, if you're coming in and you have a chance to take it and you don't, and there's someone at Sandy that's playing better, by all means, bring that player in and drop him. It's a battle. We're not a team that we can just, keep average players in. We want to keep trying things. We want to find that gem. We want to find that gold nugget, that player that can really play. And I think we've found a few in Matty Parker and I think Wilkie and I think Clavanero has a chance in the next couple of weeks, depending on how our defence pulls up. But he's been talked up on the Saints pages, on their website, and he's marking form in defence. And I can see him coming in when Nathan Brown's looking to zone out and retire. We've got the likes of Carlisle, Clavanero, and Wilkie, a bunch of defenders there that are doing really well. So, Jack says, give us an insane in the membrane. Nah, mate, nah. Matt Marsh might happily oblige for you, though. I think he's watching. He runs the aisle 29 or aisle 26 Saners. Can't remember the name now. But if you get to the game against Brisbane in a couple of weeks, go to that section near the cheer squad. That's where they do it, guys. So anyone that's keen on doing the chants, go there and have a sing with them. It's good fun. Ian says, good to see Armour rewarded. Should have a strong side in a couple of weeks. Graham says, didn't think I'd see Armitage again in Saints colours. Not a step forward, I think. Good luck to our local boy, Nico. We need a convincing win, says Joe. Tanya says Saints for premiers. Joe says we need to get a good win to get our percentage back on track. That's a good point. But, I mean, it's all good to get wins to make finals, but we don't want to be that team that, has the same amount of wins as whoever's in 8th, but we miss out on slight percentage because our percentage right now I think is 85. Pretty damn low because of the Port game. It'd be good to get it back up in the next couple of weeks. Above 92, 93 would be nice. Peter says the next 2 wins with the players coming back sets up a run to the finals. I agree with that. Scott says would love to sneak into a final, play decent, not necessarily win it. Might make Stuv see the light and keep a Saint for life. I agree. I wasn't a believer last season about Stuv going to Geelong, but for some reason, just with everything happening, I'm a bit worried that Geelong's success, us being not as great as we want to be yet, and him being closer to the end of his career, if he thinks that moving to Geelong back home to his hometown for a flag would be a chance, but I'm hoping that he's one of those guys that just, like, Rory Sloane, kind of just puts pen to paper and just says, no, I'm here for life. I'm a Saint for life, and I'm not going to do that. Similar to Nick Riewoldt and all those greats, Lenny Hayes, all those great players that we've had over the years. Lee Montagna again. Peter says, Armo, good to have some experience in the team. I agree. I think that's why he's in. Just experience. We've lacked that. We've got better players, but I think he just brings that experience because he's done it there. He's been there. He's played a lot of games, and he knows how to get those wins. Excited to see Clark in, so much potential. Who is captain? I think Seb Ross is just going to stay captain. He was acting captain when Geary was out. So I think he'll stay captain for this game. Is Richo in trouble if we lose? I don't even think you need to ask me the question that. I think everyone here watching right now, if we lose and I do a review, we're all going to be saying, Richo out, coaches are stuffed, selection was shit. It's just the nature of the game. If we lose to Gold Coast and we lose badly, we're not... just if we lose, yes, I think Richo's in massive trouble. We can't lose this game. This is one game on the fixture that we look at and we're like, that isn't a loss. And so far, to be fair, every time we've lost, we haven't lost a game where we've kind of expected. We haven't lost to the Carltons, to the Gold Coast. We've won the games we've had to, but we've been bad in the games that we haven't really been pictured to win. Like the Port game, it would have been nice to win, but I think a lot of us probably didn't tip us. The Adelaide game, the same thing. West Coast, the same thing. Collingwood, the same thing. Those games we didn't really go in as favourites or necessarily as any sort of chance in the tipping. But in this game, 24 of the 30, I think, for the Herald Sun tipped us. So to me, that's expected to win. So we better win. Matt Marsh, he's saying they'll be pumping the chants down at Moorabbin's social. I think they stream the games there. They show the games if you can't get it on TV or if you can't go to the actual game being away in Townsville. You can go to Moorabbin and they've got it on, and you can go there and get some food and meet some other Saints fans. So it sounds fun. I recommend it if you are around that area and you know, sometimes you're watching the game at home and it's not exciting. You're just on your own. But if you want to go and make it feel like you're at the game and you can yell at the umpires and cheer on the Saints, go to Moorabbin and check it out. Good fun. Is Ross captain? I think he will be. We are 145 points down on having same points for and against. So really, let's win by 145 points on the weekend. Jacob says, good to see a few changes and other guys back from injury looking good. Stephen is going to Geelong 100%, says Fraser. Clearly he knows more than me. Jason says, what are our forwards being taught? I don't see any leads at all for the entire year. I agree with that. I think it's just in terms of delivery. I think it's just, for me, when I look at the game, and I'm not a coach, but we always start very high up. Bruce and Membry are always, when the ball's being played, they're always either in the 50-metre arc, that high up at the 50, or they're leading up onto the wing. That means that there's no one in the square. That's where I'm excited to see Max King, because for Sandy, he's playing solely out of the square. He's taking marks that are contested, but when he takes the marks, if you look at where he's kicking goals from, he kicked one from 50, I think, a few weeks ago, but generally they're 25 out directly in front, and we're not getting shots there because we're not getting forwards there. They're not leading out. And when we're kicking it into the 50, we're constantly kicking it over our forwards' heads because they're that high up. I think someone needs to stay out of the square, because if we miss the half forward and it goes even further to the square, we've got someone there that can mark it. And I think when Max King comes in, that's exactly where he's going to be. This game makes me nervous. There are no easy games for us. Stuart says, I don't think that will happen. He wanted to be a one-team player, but you never know. That's in terms of Jack Stephen going to Geelong. Let's talk about that at the end of the year. Let's get the win and let's get him back. I want to see him fit and firing with Dan Hanbury and Seb Ross and Jack Steele back, and Billings and Gresh, Sinclair, Dunstan, you know, maybe Armitage if he stays in the team. But that's a good nucleus of a midfield there. So I think we're going to get the win. I don't know how convincing it's going to be, guys. It never is. We struggled in round one against them, but I'm hoping that was just the round one bug, and we come in and we play convincing football away from home. Sean says King's the new Favola. If he kicks 100, I'll take that. Just hopefully no late nights at Crown and gets banned from the club anytime soon. But I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks so much for your comments. I've actually rebranded Saints TV. I've done a new logo, so if you like it, let me know. If you don't, if you have any tips on more things that you want me to do, player comparisons, anything, keep them coming. I get feedback all the time from you, so it's awesome to hear the feedback, and it kind of helps me evolve the page. And we're getting close to 10,000 fans now, which is incredible. I think Instagram just topped 5,000 today, which is crazy considering this season we only started at 1,000, so we've gone up 4,000 fans in 4 months of football, which is ridiculous. And we're getting players like Hanbury and Jake Carlisle, Nick Rewalt. We're getting a lot of Saints looking at the content, and even I think it was Rowan Marshall last week. He commented, he messaged the page after he saw the chants, and he laughed and he said that's awesome. So he even watches the chants. You know, players are seeing the chants, so it's awesome. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you Saturday, Arvo, hopefully to talk about a win. Go Saints.